Stop recording button. Double tap to activate.
And I think we're all set up. Get that and there. Okay, here's another video talking about more about Sci Fantasy. And I think I forgot a couple races. I think from the last video. So, anyways, what was I planning on talking about? Decided on talking about Sci Fantasy again. Oh yeah, how the galaxy is mapped, different cultures that could be used to help inspire the cultures of the different races, and some planet names that I have decided on for at least some of the races. So, okay, so let's begin with the galaxy. It's your typical standard spiral galaxy. I think a cool name for this galaxy is Galaxy Arcana. Has a nice ring to it. So let's start off with the mapping. Okay, so the way I went about with the mapping system for the galaxy is basically taking longitude and latitude and flattening out, adjusting it for like a galaxy map instead of a planet map. If you've seen those flat Earth maps, you could probably get at what I'm trying to go for, though I'm pretty sure that flat Earthers have no way of explaining longitude and latitude. But anyways, okay, so let's start with longitude. The galactic longitude acts as measuring angular distance around the galactic disk. So imagine imaginary lines coming from the center of the galaxy, which acts as the equivalent of the North Pole. Having those imaginary lines acting as galactic meridians, going out like spokes on a wheel, all the way to the galactic rim or edge. So, and there'll be a prime meridian and an anti-meridian, which can be divide the galaxy in half if you combine the two as a diameter of the galaxy, and each angle measurement equals up to 360 degrees, going from the prime meridian equaling 0 degrees and the anti-meridian equaling 180 degrees. And the equivalent for east and west in the galaxy would be right of the prime meridian would be the equivalent of east, and left of that would be west. Yeah, and the equivalent for latitude would be imaginary rings, a series of imaginary rings acting at the galactic latitude lines, going from the center to the edge, like a series of rings. And think the galactic equator would be a mid ring, which is equal distance from both the galactic center and galactic edge. Yeah. And the positive values, the equivalent of going north in the galaxy would be heading towards the center, and going towards the edge is the equivalent of going south. And since a galaxy is not just like a two-dimensional disk, though it's pretty much, for the most part, a disk, the equivalent of altitude, which is a recent thing that I've thought up of, is if you're the equivalent of the measurement of sea level would be the galactic plane, the main galactic plane, and the equivalent of the positive measurements of galactic altitude would be going above.
Please make the narrator a main character. Phantom Joker 5 replied.
Yep, sorry, that was my phone talking. Anyways, as I was saying, the positive values of galactic altitude would be measurements above the galactic plane, and negative values of altitude would be measurements below the galactic plane. Yeah. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, we could talk about the different inspirations for the races, cultures, and the planets names that I have for so far for the different planet names for the races, home planets. But first, if you want to know where each planet would be in the galaxy, what planet where each system is, since I mentioned a flat Earth map, you could just superimpose the galaxy over that flat Earth map, mark points within the galaxy where each country and or continent of notice or importance to the culture which each race is inspired by. Mark those on the galaxy map, and you'll pretty much be set. I hope I'm making sense. Anyways, let's begin with the different races and their inspirations. Okay, to go over, there's humans, which I decided on having them be inspired by Celtic culture. And just to note, I'm gonna try having each race be somewhat a distinct culture. I hope. Okay, so humans, Celtic inspired, planet name Avalon. Going from them to the halflings, their planet is Arbia. And they're gonna be inspired by the British, like modern day British-ish type, you know. The British, like Anglo-Saxon. Yeah, like Anglo-Saxons and yeah, like that, like them. And for the elven races, I decided to have them be inspired by cultures that were part of the Roman Empire. So they would be inspired by mainly Romance cultures, because in the lore I'm thinking about having like elves have this once great empire like the Roman Empire that fell apart, was likely with similar circumstances to the fall of the Roman Empire. So to begin, let's start with the High Elves, whose planet is named Etheria, and they're like the Italians, and could draw like how most Italians can directly tie themselves back to the city of Romans in that area. The High Elves would be the most direct tie back to the Elven Empire. And yeah, so there'll be basically Italians / Romans, mainly Italians. And moving from High Elves to Wood Elves, the home world is Sylvania, being the Latin word for forest, and I was thinking on having them be inspired by Le French, the French. I can't. So yeah. Dark Elves. Going on to the Dark Elves. The Spanish. They're inspired by the Spaniards. The Spanish. And their home planet's name is Tenebrae, being Latin for darkness. Or shadow. I'm pretty sure it's darkness. I don't think having Drow would be pretty much redundant to have Dark Elves and the Drow be different things. It could be like the Drow could be like a sub. Nah, I'm just gonna have Dark Elves. Okay, so Dark Elves are Spaniards, and moving on from, well, yeah, moving on from the Dark Elves. I was about to say moving on from the Elves, but we have one more elven race, the Orcs. And their homeworld will be Dacia. They'll be based off of Romanians. And why, you may ask, that I consider Orcs an elven race? Well, in J.R.R. Tolkien's mythology, Orcs were corrupted elves. You can also see that in the Elder Scrolls. I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last video. Probably did, but can't remember. Anyways, the Elder Scrolls also consider the Orcs to be of elven descent, elven blood. A corrupted elven race. So that's what I'm going for the Orcs. But they won't be the only race born out of corruption. Moving on from the elves to the dwarves. And the rest of the dwarven races, because, well, the rest of the short folk, you know. Anyways, no mind. Dwarves. They are Nordic Vikings. Yeah, Nordics, the Norse. Yeah, so they're inspired by the Norse Vikings, and their homeworld is known as Midgard, for those that know about the Norse pantheon and Norse cosmology, and anything about Norse mythology. That should be a fun fact. It is one of 9 worlds within a star system at the base of a nebula known as the World Tree Nebula. And if you know about the nine realms from Norse mythology, you could fill in the rest of the 9 worlds. Asgard, Vanaheim, Jotunheim, okay, that's 4, okay, we're up to 4, Muspelheim and Niflheim, Elfheim, which could just be like an elven colony that set up shop within the system. Svartalfheim, a dark elf colony in the region, though there was a mining station above the planets called Nidavellir. So fun. And Helheim. Can't remember if Niflheim or Muspelheim is the, if one's the fire, the other's the ice. I don't know. If you know your Norse mythology, you could put it in the comments, clear that up. Anyways, gnomes. Everybody loves gnomes. They are gonna be Swedish. And their home world shall be known as Jarnheim, meaning I own home in Swedish. I think I used an AI to think up these names because I'm not good at thinking up names, but I did tell it what I have in mind for the culture of each race by telling it what's thinking about their inspiration. So that would help, and I chose the best names that I thought sounded good. Not all of them I chose from an AI, but anyways, moving on. Goblins. They are gonna be German inspired. Now we reach the first of the other corrupted races. They are corrupted ancient dwarves. You know, before modern dwarves, since they're both small. And back then, way back then, gnomes and halflings, not hobbits, don't want to get sued. Gnomes and halflings weren't really around back then, when the genesis of goblins happened. And anyways, home planet, Koboldheim, because kobold is German for goblin. So Koboldheim, goblin home, fitting. Though it could be just an ancient name that is still in use, because we know D&D and Pathfinder, pretty much every fantasy RPG tabletop game has kobolds, which are like little dragon people. Be separate from actual goblins. Anyways, if I ever decide on having kobolds, they could just be a pest in Koboldheim. The goblins could have a unique name for them, because the original kobolds were goblins, and most people call goblins and refer to those lizards as kobolds because they come from Koboldheim, and the goblins could have a different name for them in their tongue, though kobold would be the common name for the little lizard people, the little dragon people. Who knows? Maybe the word for goblin in the goblin tongue could have changed pronunciation over time. Who knows? Now that I think about it, I could have the kobolds be inspired by Dutch, since the Germans don't refer to themselves as Germans unless they're speaking English. They would refer to them as the Deutsch, which it means Dutch. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. Anyways, moving on. To the races that I think I forgot. So for Minotaurs and Satyrs, since they're both playable races in D&D, and so why not have them? Anyways, since they're both originate from Greece, why not have them be both inspired by Greece, but have them be of different city-states from Greece. Oh, by the way, the planet name would be Helena, like Hellenistic, you know. So, Satyrs, they would be based off the people of Athens, while the Minotaurs shall be based off of Spartans. Anyways, yeah, anywho. So, moving on to our next race. The Azima, since they're angel people, I'm gonna base them off of Jews/Israelites. So, their home planet, I chose Zion, as in the mountain. Though, similar to how Israel used to be the land of Canaan, the planet of Zion used to be known as the planet of Gehenna, where Nephilim lived, which would be like an Azmal Tiefling hybrid, sorta, since Pathfinder also has something like that, referred to as the Nephilim as one of their races. So, anywho, speaking of the Tieflings, their planet's name shall be Al Ghul, like the star, the blinking star, the demon star. Anyways, they're gonna be based off of Arabian/Muslim culture. So yeah. And if I ever decide to add Geniekin, I was debating on either having them be inspired by the Turkish or Sumerians or Babylonians, Persians, one of those. And if I ever decide to add ogres, they could be a potential corrupted race, being corrupted from the a sort of template race to all the humanoid races, like, you know, your elves, dwarves, and humans, and the variations of those three including like goblins, orcs, halflings, and gnomes. You know. Anyways, ogres could be inspired by Russians, could be inspired by some of the Slavic race. Yeah, Russians. Going with Russians. They will be Russian. Haven't thought of a name because I'm not too sure I might add them, but if I do add them, well, this is all speculation. If anyone wishes to take my ramblings and make something out of it, you could do that, though. If you don't, I might actually try to do it with some help. Anyways, moving on. Catfolk. They will be based off Egyptians. That sounds like a fitting inspiration, don't you think? And their god, or their, not god, their planet would be named after the Egyptian cat god, Bastet. So, yeah. Oni. The Oni, which I think I mentioned. This will be the final official corrupted race. If you know anything about Japanese mythology, you would know that Oni are sort of corrupted humans, kinda. Like they generate from, they are born from humans that are evil. When they die, they become Oni. But some humans, if they're so evil, they just turn into Oni while they're alive. So, perfect candidate for a corrupted race of humanity. So, and they're gonna be inspired by India, like Indians, Asian Indians, since, like I said before, I want each race to be somewhat based off of a unique race. Don't want to have every single, like, a race based off all, like, many different races based off the same culture, even if they might be taken from said culture. Because I have a couple, well, I think 4 different races inspired by creatures from Japanese mythology. If you've seen the episode before this, you might know them. Okay, so the Tengu, or Tianru, that's a hint on their inspiration, they will be based off the Chinese. And I have not thought of a name for it. If anyone has good names for the planets that I don't have names for, it'll be great if you could think up some in the comments. I'll choose the one that, for one, is easy to remember, and 2, I like the best. Which, it being easy to remember would help in that. Tanuki, I'm either split on Okinawan or Korean, either could work. Possibly Korean inspired. Kitsune. Japanese. The home planet is named Inoi. So, yeah. Naga, the snake people. If I ever decide on adding them, I was thinking along the lines of Filipino. If not Filipino, then Vietnamese, maybe? I don't know much about that culture or Filipino culture anyways, yeah. Merfolk, the fish folk, the fish people. They will be based off of Polynesian culture. Since I named a couple, like 2 planets after gods from the culture of their inspiration. How about Maui? Maui for the Polynesian inspired merfolk. So you could imagine like a water planet with a bunch of tropical islands dotted all around. That'll be nice. I think I skipped over a couple of races. The monkey folk, monkey like folk inspired by Sun Wukong. You could call them the Kong, or go with the Japanese word for primates, Zaru, for the name of the race. I like Zaru, though Kong could be fitting. Anyways, Tibetans. They'll be inspired by Tibetans, and especially Tibetan monks. Okay. And if I okay. Anyways, if we want to go with a whole Coming to the West vibe, we would also need a playable pig race that isn't orcs. They might have like some pig-like qualities, but thinking a pig-inspired race, like a pig, wild pig, inspired race. I was thinking about maybe Mongolians. That could walk. Maybe. Anyways, almost finished. Lizard folk. They will be inspired by the Mesoamerican cultures, so like your Aztec, your Mayans, your... Isn't there a third one? I'm blanking on what the other one was. Inca, yeah. They're based off like your Aztec, your Mayans, your Inca. So And one of the homeworlds of the lizard folk would be named after the Mayan underworld being Xibalba, which kinda reminds me of like a Gungan name. Either that or just some generic name from Star Wars. And since we have the Mesoamerican spider race, now time for the Native American spider race, wolf folk. Wait, did I mention the Tanuki? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I did. All the other
Call. Recording will be stopped and saved when you answer call. Incoming call, Jennifer Huffman.
Hang on, I have to take this. This will be...
Capture, but
No.
answer, button, window call. Missed call, Jennifer Huffman, 740-398-2238.
Sorry, that was... I'll have to call them later.